pretty interesting stuff. I've heard this presentation before. The President's Party is June 30th. So next week's going to be Zoom. The following week, we won't have lunch here. We'll have the President's Party June 30th in the evening here. Make sure you RSVP. It's always a special night and a lot of fun. It's going to be a reception style event with appetizers and drinks. I would like to call Jeff Rayner to the microphone. We've got some charity funds to distribute. Jeff?
Hey, thanks, President. We've got, if you recall, last week we were able to give out 2 of our awards, and we've got 3 more awards to give out this week. And the first is the First Coast Blessings with a Backpack. And we've got Joan Burchell here with the St. John's Cathedral, and Griffin Lyons with the oldest, who is from the oldest elementary school in Jacksonville, which is the Riverside Elementary. Also, we'll have our own Dan Maloney with the Jacksonville Zoological Society, and Hope Across America, actually Hope Across the Globe with Vicki Lynn, but she's not here today. So I'm going to give the mic to Miss Joan, and you can say something about your charity.
Thank you. We really so appreciate this addition to our efforts that you're able to make. We serve children for the weekend. So when you have someone who's getting free school lunch and free breakfast in the school during the week, there's a lot of turmoil when the weekend comes. How are we going to be sure that they actually get some kind of nutrition so that when they come back on Monday morning, they're ready to learn? Because this is really talking about learning gap and what we can do, each one of us supporting children who needs food over the weekends. So thank you very, very much. It's really important, and our kids are just going to be all the better served by it. Thank you.
And our very own Dan Maloney, you want to say something about the Jacksonville Zoological Society?
Yeah, welcome. Hi, everyone. It's what a great surprise. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We are not for profit, and we always appreciate the extra help. I just spoke to the Rotary Club of Riverside this morning. We host the Northside Club here for their meetings, so I think the zoo feels very connected to Rotary. Thank you all, and we'll continue to do our good work with the support of the community.
Very good. And Dan, Patty wants you to get with her on that signature, by the way.
I tell Patty I've already sent it to her earlier today. Good job, always keeping us on track. Thank you, Patty.
Very good. So, that's our.
All right, Family of Rotary, Palmer Bell.
And it's been somewhat of a slow news week. We have no birthdays this week. So that's an unusual event. And saw Jimmy before. Jimmy, any updates on your family and daughter?
My mother was moved to rehab yesterday. So kicking and screaming, she's going through therapy right now. Thank you for asking. Appreciate
Sure.
that.
I was with someone who's a non-Rotarian yesterday, and they told me a long story about their parents. And it made me remember that even though we are technologically much more advanced than we were 18 months ago, it's really kind of a misnomer. We are not as connected as we were 18 months ago. So the more that we can do with each other and with Rotary, keeping in touch with each other, finding out the deeper stories, not just the surface, I think it'll help Family of Rotary. It'll help all of us. And of course, like you all, I've had a lot of time on my hands. And so I enjoy going to different websites, find out what's out there, look at the website and enjoy it. And I found a real gem. It's called conjunctivitis.com. It's a site for sore eyes.
Thank you, Palmer. I think. Sergeant of Arms report, Dane Jensen.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody's week is off to a good start. It's a pleasure to introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians for the last time in this Rotary year. I believe that Sean and the Corrigans, you guys have a guest. Somebody like to introduce him?
I'm very proud to be able to introduce my grandson, Riley Rogers. Riley's M. Cupping Senior in the best high school in the city, Bishop Snyder.
Welcome. And Stanley Cantor has a guest as well.
Sharon.
All right, this being the last time that I get to stand up in front of everybody, I did want to let everybody know it's been a real pleasure being your sergeant at arms this year. We started off the Rotary year by doing fantasy football, which was a first for our club. We suffered through a few bad jokes. We enjoyed a couple good ones. It was a good year, and I just really want to thank everybody for the experience. President Ike, President-elect Ike, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dane. It's a real honor to introduce our speaker today. John Wood is chairman and CEO of the Sally Corporation, Jacksonville, Florida firm specializing in the development of animatronic productions and theme park rides and attractions. Mr. Woods is a graduate of Bowles School and Wake Forest University. He's very active within the amusement park industry, has twice served as the director of International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, and as director of the International Board of Themed Entertainment Associations. In 2013, he was inducted into this industry's Hall of Fame. So we have a Hall of Famer speaking. As a native of Jacksonville, Florida, Mr. Wood is also involved in a number of community activities. He's past president of the board of directors for the Jacksonville Fair Association and serves on the executive board of the North Florida Boy Scouts and board of trustees of NPR Jacks. Ladies and gentlemen, John Wood.
Thank God for Marshall. Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? It is a real pleasure to be here. And I'm telling you, a real walk in my history. I grew up in this club. As a matter of fact, I thought I owned it when I was a kid. I won my first swimming meet here when I was 12 years old. And I almost got thrown in jail at 14 when I came with my bicycles and decided I wanted to skinny dip off the high dive. But fortunately, made it through all that. But coming here today, 43 years after we started this business, matter of fact, next week will be our 44th year anniversary, June 27th. But it's truly a trip down memory lane. First, I drove by our original offices on Plymouth Street in Roosevelt, 4302A Plymouth Street. We shared the bathroom with McDaniel Typewriter Services next door, which are still there. If you want to see some old typewriters, you can go there and see them. But then coming down the way and turning into Ortega, I grew up in Ortega Forest, and on Da Vinci were my original two partners, John Rob Holland and John Fox. John Fox being the next door neighbor to Dr. Holland, who was building an airplane in his garage at the time, along with 5 prototype moving and talking mannequins. I had finished college and gone to work immediately with Charter Company for 3 years, but Charter had a downscale. I was one of the ones that was let go, and I was looking for a new career. John Fox had left a year earlier and had started a home building company and had said maybe I could come work with him. I knocked on his door. We looked at some lots and plots and thought about building homes, but he says, you know, I've got another idea that we're working on too, and we need somebody like you, young and dumb. So I qualified we went over to John Rob's garage and we began playing with these moving and talking mannequins. I decided to take a flyer. 43 years later, I never dreamed this company would last as long as it has, but we've been on so many adventures. I want to share with you some of them. First, let's see if I can figure out how to do this. There we go. I want to show you, oops, how do I go back? This is our current video, just to give you an idea of who we are today. I hope. Try that again. Oops. I don't know what happened then. For all of our professional career, we've had to explain our name, Sally. Well, Sally was the name of the first animated character that John Robb built in dental school at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And yet it didn't help us in any way. So this last year, we changed our name for the third time, and we're now officially Sally Dark Rides. Because what happened is the evolutionary story I'm going to tell you today about where Sally has started and where it's gone. Originally, we were making moving and talking salespeople. Here you see a brochure that we came out with earlier. Santa Claus was our biggest seller. The Tooth Fairy to dental offices, particular pediatric dentist office. Buster Brown and Tig, a character down at the Kennedy Space Center. I'll never forget when I sold that project, went down there and I put one of the characters in the seat beside me. I had one in the trunk, the half of him, and then two sets of legs in the back seat. And when I went through the security, the lady insisted that everyone in my group get registered. And I said, I'm the only one in my group. Well, what about that man sitting in your other seat? And I said, well, come meet this guy. And finally, when I got through training the engineer about how to operate the character, I had to leave. And I was going on down to Miami to make some more pitches with the other character. But I had an old Mercedes that needed a quart of oil every time I got a gas tank full. those days you could actually pull up and tell the individual to help you out, please fill up my tank. And if you would get a quart of oil out of my trunk and put it in there with it at the same time, because I've got to go to the bathroom. When I came out, the man met me at the bathroom door, said, man, you've got a half a man in your trunk and I'm not doing anything to your car. I said, no. He said, no, I'm serious. You got a half a man in your trunk. I laughed all the way down to Miami. But we continued to move through individual characters. Oh, I got to go backwards again. This thing is sensitive. And then Chuck E. Cheese came along. Go back one more, because there you see my two original partners. We had to figure out a way to take these multiple characters and combine them together for a show. We created this stage show in our Bishopgate Lane business. At that time, it was called the Sally Explosion. And we were certain that we were going places. This was in 1980, probably. And it did. It led us to achieve some animated musical shows that were similar to Chuck E. Cheese. And here you see John Philip Tuba and Pablo Picasso, Daniel and the Dixie Diggers, and our Dragon show. We went on to make Bubba Bear and the Badland Band, Billy Joe and the Bluegrass Bears, Ursula and the Pawpaws, Mr. Beaks and Tropical Tweeters. Recently, we made an animated penguin show and another show for a group in China, the White Tiger Show. And now we've moved to we moved downtown to Forsyth Street with our third primary offices, and have been there now for 25 years, 40,000 square feet, the entire block where we build our magic. Here we have full fabrication facilities. I brought a few show and tell. Sorry, Zoomers, you can't touch and feel, but I'm going to pass these around. This is a silicone face on top of just a skull template of a character that we built this year in a little place called Santa's Village for their new Humbug Adventure. Bah Humbug. As you go through Scrooge's home, he's infected with humbugs, and your chance is to turn the humbugs into friendly cohabitants of the facility. And they're up in Santa's Village in New Hampshire. We're also shipping today a talking horse to the Memphis Museum of Fire. We refurred it and refurbished it, but I thought I'd pull his teeth up for somebody to be able to play with. But the key to our dark rides were, let me see if I can get that up, the fact that we wanted to make them interactive. We created the concept of taking a traditional old dark ride, and all of you have been on dark rides. They're one of the attractions that you have been in the theme parks for 100 years. Disney and Universal really rely on the dark ride storytelling for their success. But their success also created a little bit of a distance between others that were building dark rides and the Disney quality. And it was our job to try to bring that quality up for the regional theme park, like Six Flags, King's Dominion, Carowinds, and those parks, instead of the destination park. We've worked for Disney and we've worked with Universal, and prefer not to work with either one of them. Again, I probably won't after making that comment. However, Six Flags is our #1 customer. There's last year we built a few years ago, actually. We built Justice League, Battle for Metropolis, and 7 of their parks. Here I'm showing you a few things that we do in Jacksonville. We do school tours. We do 10 a day on Tuesdays and Thursdays, except during COVID. And of course, we'll be doing that again. We love showing off, and we get quite a variety of people that come through. We let older people in too. At Mosh, we did the lead-in exhibit. The first thing we did in our new building was to sculpt that 42-foot whale. Had to cut it up into 3 pieces to get it out the door and get it in their door, but put it back together on the wall. All about the marine mammals of Northeast Florida, not robotic in any way, but still a very popular attraction for the museum now 20 years later. If you get a chance, you'll see a real jewel that Sally developed 20 years ago at the Ritz Theater Museum, where we created the story of James Weldon and John Rosamond Johnson, who were extraordinary individuals at the turn of the century in La Villa, wrote the song Lift Every Heart and Sing, which is the national anthem, if you would, of the African-American group. And this story is extremely insightful as to what we had in those days and what these gentlemen overcame in those days. I encourage all of you to go see it. And at the Jacksonville Children's Library area, we created a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of environment, large flowers and grass as you walk in, furniture that looks like hippos and trees, and then a storytelling owl inside that kind of brings up the fauna and foliage of Florida, Northeast Florida. This, however, is our most recent award-winning attraction, Street Mission in Barcelona at PortAventura Amusement Park, one of the top 5 parks in Europe. We were bringing the Sesame Street show in
Hello, Sesame Street visitors!
I'm sorry, you can't see that. Wait, here we go. Okay. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties, but the Sesame Street ride was truly an award-winning. We won the Theo Award, which is like our Oscars in this industry, and an example of where Sally has gone over the years. 3 distinct lives were originally the individual marketing characters. Then we got into the entertainment business with animated musical shows, creating all these various different bands that perform around the world. But when Chuck E. Cheese went bankrupt, we looked at each other and said, what are we going to do now? And we decided to follow Disney's track by starting our own dark rides. We felt like there was a big gap between Disney and these old-fashioned dark rides that you still see at the fairs. And sure enough, we were able to create a marketplace and now are proudly the leader in that segment of this industry, although it's a small niche within a niche. We've created over 60 dark rides around the world and are working on 2 or 3 right now. One is called Volcanoe. It's a Sally designed attraction. Volcanic is the volcano is the primary feature of this attraction. It's going to Waterloo, Iowa, a new park that's being developed, one of the only new parks in America in recent years being developed. We're also creating an attraction for in Monterey Bay, California. And it looks like we're going to be redoing one of our attractions in Australia. Looking forward for all of this to open back up and for us to be at full tilt. Our company has continued to grow and prosper. Even though it's been a tough year, we're ready to go again. And I'm ready to answer any questions that you may have. I'll tell you the story about this little device. Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana has a variety, as the name would indicate, has a variety of areas based on holidays. Started with a Christmas land, went into Thanksgiving as well as Halloween and 4th of July. When they went into Thanksgiving, though, they wanted us to design and build a dark ride for them. But they told us you can't shoot turkeys. Again, the interactive dark ride, turning a ride adventure into a game, made it much more repeatable, much more fun, and marketable as well. So we came up with a game device that looked like a turkey caller. Those that have been a turkey hunter in the past knows about the old box caller. And when you pull this trigger, it gobbled instead of shot. And we discovered the story was that in the turn of the century, this particular area was known for its turkey production. But right before Thanksgiving, all the turkeys escaped. But everyone in the region got their turkey callers out and went out and wrestled up all the turkeys so that we could save Thanksgiving. The old turkey farmer, though, was so happy to see his turkeys back that he served pizza for Thanksgiving, and the turkeys broke out in a big song and dance routine at the end. So if you get up to Santa Claus, Indiana and Holiday World, you'll know that Sally's got a dark ride up there. I see so many familiar faces. Rob Frazier and I rode that bus together over to Bowles regularly. I got to tell you something about Howie. Some of you knew my father. As a matter of fact, Dave, and I see a lot of his neighbors here, a few of his neighbors. He was a heck of a guy. Bill Wood, an optometrist in town, also a native. But Howie and Dad would come over to the yacht club and work out in the morning. Howie was talking about football, and Dad said, I played at Lee, and in those days we played with leather helmets without a face mask. And Bill looked at Dad and he says, yeah, I can tell. One of my favorite stories. It's great to have you come back and remind me of that one. Anyone have any questions about Sally Dark Rides or its history? Yes.
When you build the dark rides, are you building just the animatronics and the things that go outside of the cart, or are you building the whole, track system and cart and everything?
No, good question. When I designed my first dark ride, it was with the Ghostbusters intellectual property. And it was to sell the animatronics that were in there and then find other people to do the special effects, the ride system, the sets and scenery, the control. That was the way we designed our first one. And we've never built a ride system itself. So we use a variety of different ride manufacturers around the world. There are a couple in America that we've used. The ride that we put into Six Flags is from Oceaneering, a company now in Orlando that's very involved in government work and undersea work, but also did the Spider-Man attraction for Universal. It's a moving platform, a motion platform that can rotate and speed and back up. And we do fake loops like a Six Flags would without even moving. In the case of the street mission with Sesame Street, we go throughout the Count's castle, but never leave the ground. It's all a special effect. So we work today a lot with CGI people who produce our animation on film, because as this dark ride has evolved, and Spider-Man is largely responsible for this, but so is Toy Story Mania. You remember you used to ride through things like Snow White's Adventure. Everything would be three-dimensional sets and scenery and an involvement that you would just visually experience. But with the development of video, 3D video in particular, seamlessly with practical sets and scenery, it expanded that venue greatly. So what we did is we took Spider-Man concept of a 3D video, but then introduced other live elements like live fire and animatronics and special effects and falling walls, and made that hybrid type, we call it a mixed media interactive dark ride. We're working now on most of the projects. We probably do about 30% of the actual work at Sally. 70% is subcontracted out to different people. We're working on a big bid right now and for Six Flags Saudi Arabia. It's called Qiddiya. It's huge, but working with the various different subcontractors, we've got a scenic company in Dubai that we're talking to. We've got other ride manufacturers in Europe that will be able to come in and do their job. It's a real process, a real learning experience, hopefully a good one at the end of the day.
John, I understand just from knowing a little bit about the company that, and people here may be interested, one of the original things that gave it a competitive advantage was the use of air and air smoothing out air movement, as opposed to Disney's hydraulic systems that gave their characters a natural feel that y'all developed, or one of the first to develop or use air to move the characters. Could you talk about that?
Sure, Jeff. It's good to see you, by the way. Yeah. We started putting motors in our mannequins. They were all electric. But the demands of the animated musical show, high repetitive movements, pretty hard movements, strumming a guitar, beating on a drum or whatever, really required pneumatics, which was a much more robust animation system, one that was designed for industrial applications, would provide millions of strokes, and could provide 10 years of continuous entertainment, even though the equipment was being maintained by the guy that sets up the salad bar at most of these locations. Be that as it may, Disney actually did use pneumatics before we did. They started with a cam and cable routine, then they went to hydraulics. And you may remember the story of Abraham Lincoln having a hydraulic leak, and that's when they changed from the red hydraulic fluid to the clear hydraulic fluid, because seeing Lincoln bleed all over the station wasn't the best way for them to promote the attraction. Pneumatics have been the way we've exclusively built animatronics since those early 80s. I will tell you, though, that now motors have come back. They weren't reliable in those days. They weren't robust, but now the new computer controlled motorized animation is the new flavor. And we're doing some research and development so we can keep up with that. We've had a couple of bids that we've had to reject because they requested that they be electric motors instead of pneumatics. So pneumatics did help us. They still are the way we build animatronics, but we still may need to go back to motors now, Jeff. Any other questions? Sure. Most of our employees are artists in some manner. We're an art-driven business. A lot of people say, you know, how many engineers do you have? We don't have any. Never have had any. The reality is we build at an intermediate technology. This is something that John Robb really drove in. He said, you know, we don't need to be exotic. We need to be reliable and good. And in reality, the audience doesn't care if you've got trained squirrels inside there performing the character's movements. It is the way the book cover looks. So we learned a long time ago that 82 or 83% of the value perceived of our character comes from the first visual look of a character. Now we're working with the new technology to get us to where we're as smooth as we can be, as well as beautiful as we can be. The art, though, starts in the design department, where they're creating the renderings of what we want to build and sell. It then goes to the sculpt mold department, where you have a sculptor that will sculpt these faces and create the molds, which is as big a art form as sculpting is. Then we would go to the mechanical fabrication, and we're not designing these robots in the computer before we give them to our people to build. They have the experience. They create we tell them what we want them to do. We create a performance specification, sometimes take a video of an actor doing the job. And then the roboteer, if you would, fabricates accordingly. So he's an artist as well. Then we move into pneumatics, which is the art of fluid air movement, and then into sets and scenery, creating the environment that the character is in front of. Finally, it goes to the art finish department, where they make the costumes, punch in the hair, paint the faces. So electronics department is the oddball out. They're not artists, but they like working with art. And they're the ones that are doing the control system. So we've got a wide variety of highly specialized skills, mostly grounded in art. Any other question from the Zoomers? Thank you.
Thank you, John. John has created and owns one of the most unique businesses you will ever find. I'd ask Frank Shy to come up and lead the four-way test. As he's making his way to the podium, I'll remind you, next week, they're doing construction here at Timaquanas. It's be Zoom only. Frank Camp from Jack Sports is going to talk about the Suez Canal debacle. The 30th is President's Night. Appetizers and drinks. Everybody sign up, attend on the 30th. Frank?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, fair to all concerned. Third, beneficial. Fourth, be beneficial to all concerned. Thank you.
Our quote of the day is from Pastor Charles Swindoll. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Bye, guys. Hey, Al. Bye, Al.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Have a great day, everybody. Okay.
Bye-bye, Larry.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Del. Bye, guys. Jerry. Admiral.